Alright, welcome back, good people. On this video, I'm going to talk about 12 things to always remember. 12 things to always remember. Number one is the past cannot be changed. When you look back on how your life has gone thus far, right? Because we have a tendency to do that from time to time. It's kind of assess, right? We see where we are versus where we were. And where you were, if you are really conscientious about where you are, then you've probably come a long ways, right? From the way you think, from the way you thought, from the things you did, from the things you believed, right? There's a process or progression, if you will, that takes you from the way you feel about you not knowing than once you know how you feel about you, right? So that progression or that process is absolutely necessary for you to grow, for you to evolve into who you can become, right? So you can't evolve into who you can become by constantly staying in the past. You must understand that the past is the past. It's there for reflection only. You can't go back and say, well, you know what? I'm going to live my life just like that, because that's not the way it works. Number two is opinions don't define your reality. Aren't you glad? Because there are some people who have opinions about you that you wouldn't like. Just like there are some people who have opinions about me that I would like, but that's, I know that's not my reality. But you are entitled to that opinion, though, when you think about it, right? They're entitled to believe that you're a butthole or you're a nice guy, or whatever the case may be. They're entitled to believe that, even if that's not the case, right? Because just because they believe that doesn't mean that's the way it is. Number three, everyone's journey is different. Ooh, I like that. Because I believe that we are all on journeys. We are on our own journey through this thing called life. And as we go through this thing called life, we experience different things. Now, what is an experience? Is an experience knowledge that you can tell people that they can understand, or do they have to go through it themselves to actually get it? Because if you tell me that stove is hot, if I don't really understand hot, or I don't know what hot really does, I'm still going to be kind of curious about what that is, right? So I might want to just get a little feel to see for myself what hot is, right? Now that's an experience. If I tell you don't touch that stove, you may not touch that stove, but you're not touching that stove because of your experience. You're not touching that stove because of what I said, what happened to you, right? So when you go through it yourself, oh, you have a different understanding. Please know that. Please know that. So your journey through this thing called life is going to be different than mine. Sometimes you're going to go through things that you wouldn't want your worst enemy to go through, right? Because you went through that experience. And, you made it through it, but you did go through it. Sometimes that makes you stronger. It really does. And it has an effect on everybody differently, right? Sometimes people can go to jail and do some time in jail and actually come out and be better people. That's possible. But that's not normally the way it works. Normally, you go through a situation like that, you're a worse person. You're better crook, or you're better at deception, or better at lying, or whatever it is, because you're around a bunch of people who do that, right? So when you want to stay positive, you have to be around positive people. If you're a very upbeat, high-spirited person, if I put you around a bunch of negative people, let's say I put you around 5 negative people, do you think you're going to remain upbeat, high-spirited? No, you got too many coming against you. There's too many negative perspectives coming your way. And unless you get away from that, you'll become negative as well. That's how that works. Flip that up. If you're a negative person, you're around 5 positive people, you're going to become positive, young lady, or you're going to become positive, young man, because you can't be in that environment and not acquiesce to that environment. We adjust to where we are, right? If it's cold, you're going to shiver. If it's hot, you're going to sweat, right? That's how it works. The next thing is, which is number 4, things always get better with time. That's interesting. That's interesting. Because one of my favorite things is over time. Over time, things change. I may hate you today, but over time, that may change. I may love you today, but over time, that may change. I may know 0 today about that, but over time, that may change. It may change to where I'm an expert at that, right? So, things get better over time. I think we adjust over time. And by adjusting, things have a tendency to level off in my mindset. Because it's like, whenever I hear that statement, things get better with time, I think about death. I think about the loss of a loved one. You get better over time. It's always going to be difficult for some people, and it's real difficult for some people in the beginning. But over time, you adjust and you get better. So I'll agree with that. Number 5, judgments are a confession of character. Judgments are a confession of character. I think so. Because you're basing that judgment on who you are. Because you're not basing it on the facts necessarily or who that person is. You're basing it on your character. Number 6, overthinking will lead to sadness. I agree. Because I had an issue with overthinking at one time that I addressed. Because I would stay with a question or issue longer than normal. I want to really find out, why am I doing this, or what is that about? But what it done, it would bring up more scenarios that were negative, right? Because that's how the mind works. The mind processes things differently for different people, and if your mindset, if your self-talk is negative, chances are really good that if you keep thinking and keep talking to yourself, you're going to have more and more negativity to process, right? Unless you are consciously focusing on bringing in the good or the positive, right? Or the sweetness, I like to call it. So yeah, that's overthinking will lead to sadness. What do you think about this list? Is this a pretty good list? I mean, these are things that I just do research on during the week as I'm doing my other things in my business. And then I say, you know what, I like that topic. I'm going to talk about that. And then how this makes me better as an individual or as a speaker or someone that's creating videos or creating content is I'm able to remember some of these things that are being said. I'm able to equate, like if this next one, for instance, it says happiness is found within. If I introduce that to you and I say, I'm going to say this and I want you to respond to it. Happiness is found within. What would be your take on that? How would you respond to that? See, that's what that allows me to do here in front of you guys. It allows me to think on my feet, so to speak, although I'm sitting down. That's a metaphor, right? What you mean you knew that? But that's how you get better. You get better because you're in the fire. I'm in the fire with you guys right now. I'm not. When I turn this camera off, then and so back to the old me. But in front of the camera, I have to be professional. I have to be informative. I have to give you value, and that's what I want to do. That's why I do it, right? And you will too. Number 8, is positive thoughts create positive things. That's right. Positive thoughts create positive things. Number 9, smiles are contagious. You think so? If you're walking down the sidewalk and you're walking east and someone else is walking west and they smile at you, do you smile back? If they frown at you, do you frown back? If they frown at you, do you smile? Or if they smile at you, do you frown? This says smiles are contagious. And I believe that. Number 10, kindness is free. It don't cost you nothing. Number 11, you only fail if you quit. Are you going to quit? A better question is, are you going to start? Because see, that's where I come in. That's what my system does. See, when you're dealing with businesses, right, they try and reach you where you are. I reach clients in the beginning of what they want to do, in the beginning of starting a business, in the beginning of writing a book, in the beginning of creating a video series, in the beginning of setting up a podcast system, right? That's where my system reaches you, because that's where the things that I teach are beneficial for you, like the language of a certain niche, the operations of a certain niche, the systems involved with understanding the operations of that. Now, once you get that down, then there's another level. Yes. Then there's another level. Yes, 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 yes. You got to love those levels, because you can identify where people are by talking to them on those levels, right? If you and I are in the same business, right, and you and I have never met, but we have a conversation about our businesses, we're talking the same language. Yes, that's how it works. But if I can't keep up with you, or I don't know what you're talking about, then I don't understand that language. I don't understand that world. So that would mean to the person that I'm speaking with that I'm on the beginning stages. Not that it's okay to take advantage of me, but you have to take me kind of slowly, because I don't know, I'm not there yet. But, we want to help people, so we'll take you slowly, give you all the time you need, get you set up, and then you can take it from there, right? Now, the 12th and final thing is, what goes around comes around. Now, that can be a good thing or a bad thing, couldn't it? Because if you're out putting bad things, you don't want that to come back. But that's the way it comes. It comes back bad too. If you're putting out good things, well, you welcome that, right? You welcome the good things. I do. I welcome good things when they come my way. And I acknowledge them. And they can be small. They can be very, very small, like the smallest of things. Like, I'm a person who, you may not know this about me, but I like to always have something that I'm growing. I'm a person who, I don't believe my time should just be wasted without assisting something with some type of growth, right? So my grandkids, I'm a grandfather, so my grandkids are not around me on a regular basis. I don't have any children around me on a regular basis. I don't have any pets. So I chose plants. I like plants, right? So I can grow plants. So it takes my attention to pay attention to a plant and see if it's growing, if it's needing water, if it's needing food, whatever the substance is that require that plant to grow and get stronger, right? And then I can watch it grow. So that way, I'm still contributing in a way to the growth of something, right? If I had a plant, if I had a pet, I would take care of the pet, and take it to the vet and all that kind of stuff to go with that. But I don't really have time for those things like that. And I don't really like to get that close to things like that. Like, I don't want to be naming a pet. If I name a pet, once you name it, it's yours, right? You're going to be responsible for taking care of that life, the life of that pet. You got to walk that dog. You got to feed that cat or whatever. I'm not really a cat person. But you have to become that person's or that thing's caretaker, right? To a certain level. Just like with plants. I got to water the plants, put them out and let them get sun and on and on and on. Those type of things like that. Which is what I don't mind doing because it's easy to do. And I just have to monitor it, right? But that list was pretty interesting, wouldn't you say? And it was only 12 deep. It was only 12 things that I talked about there. And this is probably a 12, 15-minute video. Now, could you do that? Could I give you a list of 12 things that you want to talk about? You don't even have to want to talk about them. But 12 things that you can talk about. You sit in front of the video. You name number one. And then talk about it for a few minutes. Then name number two. Talk about it for a few minutes. Then name number three. And talk about it for a few minutes. And you have a video. Because you're not making 12 or 15 minute length videos. You're making 2 to 3 minute long videos. And you're only doing 10 of those. So video number one is going to be kind of chaotic because, you know, you're really trying to get things organized. You don't know how you want to place things and this and that. But video number 10 should be like, okay, that looks pretty good. And I did a really good job. And I can see the progression from video number 1 to video number 10. And what is that? That, ladies and gentlemen, is growth. Are you growing? Why not? My name is Larry James. Don't forget to like these videos. My company is SpeakWithLarry.com.